It's been a while since I've done a character ranking list. I previously ranked the Suikoden 1 and 2 characters, so now it's time to rank the Suikoden 3 characters. And just like with the Suikoden 1 and 2 character ranking lists, it's going to be a personal favourites ranking, so you might see some strange character placements. I'll be judging the characters based on how much I like them overall, based on a mixture of how good they are in combat, how fun they are in combat, their design, their story, their backstory. If characters appeared in previous games or books, I'll be factoring that into my decision. So returning characters may be ranked very differently in this video than they were in the previous ranking videos. And as always, these ranking videos are just my personal opinions on characters. If I rank your favorites low or your least favorites high, who cares? It's no big deal. You could rank all of my favorites in the garbage tier and I genuinely couldn't care less. The last two character ranking videos I done, there were quite a few controversial picks and they are by far my most downvoted videos that I've uploaded. So why don't we start the ranking video once again with another controversial pick to get some people's blood boiling. And who better to start with than Thomas. Good old Thomas. He is by far the worst Tenkai star in the series. First pick in, I'm not going to place him in garbage, but first pick in, and a bunch of you are already angry and ready to type essays in the comments, and I'm pretty sure Sailor Yen is about to go full John Wick on me. I don't hate Thomas. Okay, I don't hate him. I actually like him as a person, and I like his personal story, even if his chapters are ungodly boring. I hate that he's the Tenkai star. He's a side character masquerading as the main character. His story and his chapters break up the flow of the game by pulling you away from the main story with Chris, Hugo, and Geddoe. I'm sorry, Thomas, but into the C tier you go. If he wasn't the Tenkai star, if he had any other role in the game, I'd probably rank him in the B or A tier. All of the Thomas stans are either angrily typing a comment right now or have already clicked out of the video. Next up, let's rank Luke. I controversially ranked him in the C tier for Suikoden 1, and I stand by that. I don't care for him in the first game at all, regardless of how good he is in combat. In Suikoden 2, he got some good character development and I took a real shine to him, and I believe I put him in the A tier. In Suikoden 3, he continues his rise to the top, and I'm putting him in the S tier. Luke has an incredible story in Suikoden 3, and I'd put him right up there along with Luca Blight as the best antagonist in the series. I say antagonist rather than villain because despite his actions and what they would have resulted in, his motivations for doing what he was trying to do and what he believed it would eventually lead to, it came from the right place. His true wind rune showed him visions of a potential future, and he was genuinely trying to save the world from that terrible fate in his visions. He was killing millions to save billions. Luke's tale is a tragic one, from his birth to his end. Finding out he was created in essentially a test tube, that he was a clone of someone else for the sole purpose of holding a true rune, then considered to be a failure as a clone and locked away, only to be rescued by Leknath, who then not once, but twice sent him into war as a child. Luke's story and development across the games was phenomenal. Next, we'll rank Mamie. I think her name is Mamie. I'm not 100% certain. I haven't played Suikoden 3 in 6-7 years, so I believe her name is Mamie. What is there to say? She's just a cook. She does her job. Objectively, she's in the C tier. I'm going to put her in the C tier. But I do have a gripe to pick with her, and it's by no fault of her own. My gripe is that the first time I was playing the game, I remember finding a recipe in the Zexen forest near the beginning of the game, and I got super excited thinking that the cooking minigame, which we all loved from Suikoden 2, would also be in Suikoden 3. I kept checking back with her at Budehuc Castle throughout the game, and imagine my disappointment, which you don't need to imagine because I'm sure you all felt it too, when we found out that there was no cooking minigame and all she done was cook food to use as potions. Very disappointing, but I'm not going to hold that against her. So it's a gripe I have, but it doesn't affect her rating. Next I'll rank the dogs. Kuroku, Connie, Koichi, and I want to say Kogoro, and I cannot remember who the fifth one is for the life of me. They're cute, but that's really all they have going on for them. I didn't care much for them at all. Remember how in Suikoden 1 you could defeat the final boss with any party, and in Suikoden 2 you could defeat the final boss with any party. You could bring the most useless garbage characters and they were viable in combat. They were viable against the bosses. You can't do that in Suikoden 3. I tried, even with all of the dogs at level 99 and with sacrificial jizzos equipped, they get annihilated. I don't like the dogs, besides I'm more of a cat person. I'm going to put them in the E tier. So Connie, you can all go in the E tier, and where is Kuroku? I'm blind, I cannot find Kuroku. Here you are. Who next? Nadir. I'll rank Nadir. I like him. I'd put him in the C tier because, he doesn't really do a whole lot. But because of how much I like the theater minigame, I'm going to put him up in the B tier. Kenji. I'll rank Kenji. I don't really care for him, to be honest. Plus his outfit is really out of place. He's dressed like a modern day gym teacher. I'm going to put Kenji in the E tier. Jefferson. Another character I don't really care for. He's a bit of a jerk. The nicknames he gives people gets on everyone's nerves. He doesn't mean ill, but he is a jerk. He's going in the E tier. I'll rank the lizards. Dupa, Bazba, Shiba, and I think Peggy the blacksmith, if I'm remembering her name correctly. I love the lizards. They're probably the best non-human race in the Suikoden series. I think I'll put them all in the B tier. I don't really have much to say about them as individuals. I just really love their characters' design. I really do think they are the best non-human race in the series. So into the B tier they go. And since I'm ranking groups, why not rank the St. Loa Knights? Alanis, Melville, and is it Elliot? I think I'm going to put them all... I think I'm going to put them all in the D tier. So we'll put Alanis... where are they? Where are the rest of them? There's Elliot and Melville. Yeah, they're going in the D tier. They're just kids. I know they played a decent role in Hugo's growth. They showed him not all Zexens are bad, but at the same time, I just never really cared for them. And since I ranked Melville, why not rank Melville's dad, Billy? Never liked him. Absent father, treasure hunter, gambling addict. Lost his house from his gambling addiction. Wife left him. And then he took off treasure hunting, abandoning his son. His minigame, I can't remember what it was called, but he has some kind of card minigame. That was a fun minigame, but as a character, I do not like him. The only saving grace he has is his minigame, so he's going into the D tier. And let's finish off the family. Kathy. She's Melville's older half-sister that neither of them know about each other. Billy had her with, I believe, another woman while he was out on one of his treasure hunts. I don't really care for her either. Her racing minigame, let's be honest, it sucks. The whole family are D tiers. And since I done the St. Loa Knights and they had a connection to Hugo, you know what, let's rank Hugo. Hugo is going straight into the S tier. In my opinion, he is the true main character of the game. I loved his story. I love his character. The growth he had throughout the game was fantastic. Hugo is probably my favorite character in Suikoden 3. And we will rank Lucia, his mother. I believe I ranked her in the S tier in the Suikoden 2 video. I'm not entirely certain, but she's going into the S tier here. She is everybody's favorite Suiko MILF. But no, in all seriousness, she is an incredible character. She's really matured a lot between the games. She's no longer, you know, the emotional hothead she once was. She's now a calm and composed leader. So she's right into the S tier. I love Lucia. And let's rank Lucia's right-hand man, Beecham. I'm going to put him into the A tier. Solid guy, loyal. There's nothing really special about him that stands out, but I've just always really liked his character and I have a fondness for the Koreans. Another Korean, we have Anne. What is there to say really? She lets us change our party members. She runs the tavern. C tier. I'll rank Lulu. Okay, on my first playthrough, to be honest, I absolutely hated him. I despised him on my first playthrough. I found him to be annoying and I couldn't wait to get rid of him out of my party. And then Pris killed him. You know, I didn't like him, but I certainly didn't want that to happen to him. And I started to miss him after he was killed. And on subsequent playthroughs, I liked him a lot more and I appreciated what little time, you know, that we got to have with him. He had a tragic death that led to a lot of character growth for Hugo. I'm going to put him in the C tier just because he wasn't around for that long. And I suppose I'll rank his mother, Lucia. What's there to say? Nothing really stands out about her. You know, she's a nice person and you do have to feel bad for her. But I'll put her in the C tier. Next, Isla. I love her character. She's fantastic and she's probably my favorite out of Geddoe's group, except for Geddoe himself. Her interactions and her friendship with Jax is really well written. She's not the best in combat, but you know, she's a decent all-rounder. She's got great affinity with earth and shield magic. She deals decent damage. I'll put her in the A tier. Put her in the A tier. And are there any other Koreans? Well, not really a Korean, but Fubar. He's Hugo's pet. What can you say? He's adorable. He's Hugo's adorable and faithful griffin. I'm going to put him into the B tier. And, well, not exactly a pet, Hugo's mentor and friend, we'll go with Sergeant Joe. How can you not love Sergeant Joe? He's one of the best characters in the game. You know, he's sarcastic, he's witty, but he's sarcastic and witty without being a jerk about it. He's a real bro and he really looks out for Hugo. He's going into the A tier. Next I'll rank Vicky. I'm going to put her in the S tier. She's everybody's favorite ditzy airhead. You know, what's not to love about her? And I suppose I'll rank young Vicky as well, if I can see her on the list here. She is Child Vicky. I'm not really sure why she's in there between Lily and Lewis. I don't think there's an L in her name. She doesn't have the same charm as her older self. I'm going to put her in the B tier. I'll rank Muto. He's, let's be real, Muto is the best buy. He's my favorite of all of the storage characters. I'm going to put him in the B tier as well. Well, since I rank Muto, I may as well do the Budehuc Castle characters now. Who can I rank? Martha. Don't care for her, don't like her, she's going into the E tier. Martha and Piccolo are kind of a package deal, right? They're kind of a duo. He's alright. He claims he's one of Crowley's apprentices. Is that true? I don't really care. No, the dude's an imposter. He can't even do a special beam cannon. I'm putting him into the C tier. Next. The creepy dude. I was gonna call him Lurch, but that's the Addams family. What's his name? Ike, something like that. Not 100% certain. I do love the librarian characters, but that's not because of the characters themselves. It's mostly because of the old books that give us lore about the world. He is on the creepy side. Normally I'd put the librarians around B tier, but his creepiness is kind of... he's going into the C tier. Who's left from Budehuc Castle? Cecile? Yeah, I haven't ranked Cecile. I'll put Cecile into the B tier along with Muto. She's got a great dynamic with Thomas. She's a wonderfully written character. Another Budehuc Castle character, Sebastian. I'm gonna put him in the D tier. I don't really care for him. And Juan is another Budehuc Castle character. I'm gonna put him in the C tier. I know he's great in combat, I just never really cared for him. I think that covers the Budehuc Castle characters. Next I'll rank Gordon. I don't really care about him. I'm going to put him in the D tier. I don't really have anything bad to say about him. Augustine. I'm going to put him in the B tier. Out of all of the narcissists in the series, I'd say he's my second favorite behind Vincent. I almost forgot Vincent's name for a second there. This might be a tad controversial. I know the ninja characters are popular, but I just don't care for them. You know, as always with the ninja characters in Suikoden, they're just not my vibe. I never really cared for any of them except for Kasumi, so I'm going to put Ayame and Watari into the D tier. We'll rank Kid next. I like him. I think the way he, you know, over-dramatizes every case it's pretty funny. He turns the most minor, insignificant cases into these big ordeals and he blows them way out of proportion and it's pretty entertaining, so I'm going to put him into the B tier. Next I'll rank Uber. I don't really have anything new to say about Uber. I'm going to leave him in the B tier. I think I put him in the B tier in the Suikoden 2 character ranking video. You know, he had an entire game here to develop as a character and there was still little progress made. His role in the game, I feel like it really needed Peshmerga. It was a real missed opportunity to expand their story, or should I say, to actually begin telling their story. So I'm going to leave him there because he plays his role really well. May as well do the destroyers then, right? Sarah. Where are you, Sarah? You are down here. I think her story it's as tragic, or almost as tragic as Luke's. She was abducted by Harmonia as a child. I'm going to put her in the A tier. So she was abducted by Harmonia as a child because of her natural magical powers. She was able to speak, read, write Sindarin. She was able to sense Sindarin runes. You know, she was born with a natural innate magical ability. Because of that, they abducted her. They forced her to live in isolation in the temple. They treated her more like a magical object, like a tool to be used instead of as a person. Then Luke rescued her, and she follows along with Luke's plan out of love for Luke, even though she appears to disagree with the plan itself. I think she's a wonderfully written character. I'm going to put her in the A tier. I just wish that we got to see more of her throughout the game. And then next, I suppose, to round off the destroyers, we have Albert. I'm going to put him in the S tier. Fantastic character. He was using and manipulating everyone around him, playing all sides for his own benefit to boost his own standing within Harmonia. He really takes after Leon. So he's going into the S tier. I notice I've no one in the garbage tier. Absolutely nobody in the garbage tier yet. And I think there's only one person in the entire game that belongs in the garbage tier. And that is Geddoe. Let's be real. His pedo bear ass belongs in the garbage tier. We'll rank the Flame Champion and Sana. It's kind of hard to rate a character that we only get to see in flashbacks. You know, he's a former bandit turned grassland hero who rose up against Harmonia to protect the grasslands. It's a great story, but you know, as I said, it only happens in flashbacks, so it's difficult to rank him properly. I'm hovering around A, but I'm actually leaning more towards B. I'm going to put him in the B, as again, it's hard to rate a character based solely on flashbacks. And we'll rank Sana. You know, I don't really have anything to say about her. She's the Flame Champion's wife. I'm going to put her in the C tier. And Leknat, I don't really have anything new to say about her from previous ranking videos. I'm going to keep her in the A tier. Let's rank Futch. He's another favorite of mine. He really takes on the Humphrey role in this game. You know, the role of the veteran protector and mentor looking after the young squire. He's even got Humphrey's sword with him in this game. I think he had a great story in Suikoden Volume 2 with Humphrey and Bright. I don't want to spoil what the story is, so go check out or play that game. He's continuing his rise to the top. I don't remember where I placed him in the Suikoden 1 ranking video. It might have been C or D. But in Suikoden 2, I think I put him in the A tier. And in Suikoden 3, he is going into the S tier because I love Futch's growth throughout the games. And Bright will rank as Dragon. I really like Bright's design, by far the coolest and cutest dragon in the series, so I'm going to put Bright into the A tier. And I'll rank Sharon along with them. I think she's adorable. I think, was it in one of Kid's investigations, did he say she was riding on the back of a lizard man, pretending that the lizard man was a dragon so she could practice riding on a dragon? Yeah, I'm going to put her into the B tier. I really hope she returns in a future entry in the series because I would love to see how her character develops. Arthur. We'll go with Arthur. I think he was the newspaper guy. I don't really remember all that much about him except for his recruitment scene in Budehuc Castle. If you recruit him with Hugo, you know, Hugo kind of runs him through the castle, the trapdoor, and the fireplace, showing him how he escaped. I'm going to put Arthur into the C tier. Still have quite a few characters to go through. Are there any quick fires we can get through? We got the ducks, I suppose, Rhett and Wilder. Nothing to say about them, you know, I don't really care about them, they just kind of exist. I'll put them both into the C tier. Bella's... I don't know how I feel about Belle. Kind of the same as I feel about Meg. You know, she's Meg's daughter. Sucks in combat, but I do like her fighting style. Her interactions and crush on Hugo is really cute. I did have a fondness for Meg, even though she sucks in combat, and I kind of have that same fondness for her daughter, Belle. So I'm going to put her into the B tier. And along with Belle, we got to rank Gadget, right? Or in this case, Gadget Z. I think I put him in the B tier in the Suikoden 2 video. I'm going to keep him in the B tier. He's an upgraded version of Gadget, but you know, he may not be as good in combat, but he's still fun in combat. And he's great in the theater in Suikoden 3. He's one of the funniest characters to use in the theater. We'll rank Goro. What can I say? You know, he's just the bat guy. The bat scenes have some fun conversations, but is that really on him? Not really. We're putting him in the C tier. Groups. Can I blast through a few here? I guess the traveling performers, you know, Topo, Shabon, and is it Nei, the elf girl? They tried to replicate the trio of traveling performers, and I think they failed. They weren't as fun or entertaining as Ellie, Rina, and Balgan, so I'm going to put these guys into the... I think I'm going to put them in the D tier. Into the D tier you go. Next, this might be controversial, but I'm going to put Edge into the C tier. He's like if you took Victor and removed all of his interesting traits and characteristics. Edge is as dull can be, but he's a decent guy and he does have a decent story, so he's going in the C tier, you know, middle of the pack. Sane. She's the daughter of Fried and Yoshino from Suikoden 2, and I'll be honest, she's just as uninteresting as her parents were in Suikoden 2. She's going in the C tier. Another one I don't really care about is Landis. He's a solid combat character, but I don't care for him, and I'm not really a fan of the Waking Runes, so he's going into the D tier. Another character I don't really care about would be Mike. He's got a boring and unfun card game, and I don't care about him. He's going into the D tier. And another quick one would be Dominic. You know, he's just the armor, he serves his purpose. Nothing to say, he's going into the C tier. I think I'll rank Franz. I really feel for Franz and the people of Lubeck. They're put in a really tough spot. You know, they're put between a rock and a hard place. And he was put on the spot to make some really bad decisions and some really difficult decisions for, you know, the better future of his people. And his people resented him for it. I'm going to put him in the B tier because I do really feel for his story. And his girlfriend, Iku, I believe her name was, I'm going to put her into the C tier. And I guess his pet mentor, his mount Ruby, I'm going to put Ruby into the D tier, but that's largely because I think the mentors are gross. Another quick one, Mel. That was her name, right? Mel, the girl with the sock puppet thing. She's alright. You know, she can be funny at times, but she can also be really annoying at times, so I'm going to put her into the C tier. Now the quick one, Bart's, you know, just a farmer, does his job, nothing to say, he goes into the C tier. Hortez, don't like him, don't care about him at all, he's going into the D tier. And along with Hortez, you know, I'll rank Jean. I think I placed her in the D tier for Suikoden 1 and the C tier for Suikoden 2. And I'm actually going to drop her back into the D tier for Suikoden 3. I think she was far more interesting in Suikoden 2 and Suikoden Volume 1. But in Suikoden 3, I feel like she regressed back to being as uninteresting as she was in Suikoden 1. And with returning characters, I will rank Apple. I admit I did not like Apple in Suikoden 1. I think I ranked her about the D or E tier. I definitely ranked her down towards the bottom of the list. But I loved her in Suikoden 2, and if I remember correctly, I believe I ranked her in the A tier in Suikoden 2. I'm going to keep her in the A tier for Suikoden 3. I think Apple in Suikoden 3 is fantastic. She plays a big role in the story, and while she may not be a great strategist, she's got wonderful character growth and development across the series, and she's a genuinely good person. Another character I really like would be Jimba, or Wyatt if you prefer. I'm gonna put him up into the A tier. I think he's an awesome character. I wish we got a chance to use him more than we did. He was unfortunately only available for small portions of the game. I thought he was really fun in combat, and I loved his backstory and his personality. Another character I like is Twyken, the dwarf. I quite like his character. You know, he dug his way to the grassland from the Tauren Republic, which is quite the feat. He's garbage in combat, but he's fun in combat, and he's fun out of combat. I do like his personality, but it is always a bit weird seeing a dwarf without a beard. I'm gonna put him into the B tier. Now, this next pick might be controversial. I'm looking at the list here, and Estella. I know she's an incredible mage, one of the most powerful characters in the game, but I do not care about her at all. I never did. I don't care how good she is in combat. She's not interesting, and I don't like her. I'm going to put Estella in the E tier, and I always actually preferred her apprentice Rhodey, and I'm putting Rhodey into the C tier. Bit controversial maybe, but I just don't like Estella. Next, this girl, I'm not remembering her name. It's slipping me. I'll come back to her because I don't remember her name. Maybe it'll come to me. Wanfu. He's basically Ricky Maro. Let's be honest. I'll put him in the C tier. He's got the exact same backstory as Ricky Maro. He's a man on a quest for revenge for the death of a friend. We found him at an inn, and we have to pay off a massive food bill to recruit him. You know, they even have the same scruffy appearance. He is good in combat, but, you know, the recycled backstory, just not digging it. So Wanfu is going into the C tier. I think I'll rank Yuri, Yumi, and Yoon. You know, the three girls from Al Makinan. I don't really have a whole lot to say about Yuri and Yumi. You know, they're all right. I'll put them into the C tier, but Yoon on the other hand, I think she has a absolutely tragic story. It's a heartbreaking story when you think about it. She was raised from birth, you know, with the intent of having to sacrifice herself in a ritual for the grassland spirits. It's a short, tragic life, and it really is a heartbreaking story. I hate playing through that portion of the game because of how sad it is. But I'm going to put her into the A tier. Next, since I ranked her, I'll rank Chris, since Chris played a pretty big role in Yoon's story. What is there to say about Chris? Let's be real. I love her character, you love her character, everyone loves her character. She's got some of the best character development in the game. She is a top tier character all around. So with her, I suppose I'll rank the rest of the Zexen Knights, but who do I start with? Do I start with her apprentice Lewis? We'll start with no. We won't start with Lewis. I remember the other girl's name. Ernie. That's her name. Ernie. It's not really a girl's name though, is it? Ernie. Short for Ernesto. It's a boy's name. I'm just gonna throw her in the C tier. You know, she's the magic skill tutor. What's to say? So we'll go back to the Zexen Knights. Lewis. We'll start with Lewis. Chris Esquire. You know, he doesn't really have a lot going on for him. I don't remember him doing a whole lot of anything throughout the game. You know, he just acts as her squire and attendant. So we will put Lewis into the C tier. I'll rank Boris next. Boris, I'm going to put into the B tier. I think he's got some great character development. He starts as a total asshole, but after the events of what happened in the Karayan village, he really matures a lot and starts to grow as a person after that. He's definitely racked with guilt after what happened, and he really does mature and grow a lot after that event. So he's going into the B tier. The other knights, we'll go with Percival. Percival I'm going to put into the A tier. He's just a great character all around. Roland, you're probably my least favorite of the Zexen Knights. Let's be honest, he's a bit of a dick. And because of that, I think I'm ranking him too high. I'm going to drop him down to the D tier. I'm sorry, Roland, but you are a dick. Leo, he's the muscle meathead of the group. He's great. I don't really have anything negative to say about him. I'm going to put him in the B tier instead of the A tier because I don't like using him in battle. And to round out the knights, we will go with Salome. I think he's a great character and I really like the role he plays in the Budehuc Castle storyline, so I'm going to put Salome into the B tier. They're really the only one of the Zexen Knights I don't like is Roland, who, let's be honest, he really is a dick. More returning characters, we will go with Tuta. I'm not entirely certain, but I think I put him around the D tier in the Suikoden 2 video. I'm going to put him in the A tier this time around. He's really grown a lot since Suikoden 2, and he's got a great story. You know, he travels the world visiting villages that don't have any doctors or medical care. He helps all of those in need and then continues on to the next village. What's not to love about him? And with Tuta, we gotta rank his nurse, his apprentice. Is her name Mio? I want to say Mio or Io, something like that. I think Mio. I'm going to put her into the B tier. Yeah, she's just as pure-hearted as Tuta is, but we don't have that same attachment to her as we do with Tuta. She's got a somewhat interesting backstory though. During the High East Rebellion, which is basically it was 12 years after the events of Suikoden 2, there was a rebellion in High East, the former Highland territory, and Tuta's husband, Mio's husband, got sick, and Tuta, stopping by the village, tried his best to save his life. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to save his life, but Mio was impressed by his knowledge and, you know, his skill as a doctor, and she decided to tag along, train, study under him. So she's got a good backstory, an interesting backstory. We'll go with, oh, what's her name? What is her name? This girl here, the elevator girl. This is what happens when you haven't played a game in like 6 or 7 years. And I don't know when I'm going to play Suikoden 3 again, to be honest. It's the game, the only game in the series, in the main series, that I don't really feel a desire to replay, because largely because of the the battle system, to be honest. I don't like the battle system in the game. I think it's just awful. I love the, I've been over it before. I love the story in the game, the characters, the music. I love most of the game. It's just the battle system is so awful. It's just not fun. And that's why I haven't replayed Suikoden 3 in quite a long time. I believe I've only replayed the game, or I've only played the game 3 times, which is by far the lowest amount of times I've played any Suikoden game, or any mainline Suikoden game. Even Suikoden 4, which I think is the worst in the series, I've played through about 10 or so times. So what is her name? I kind of went on that rant trying to see if I could remember her name while I was ranting, but I couldn't. Her name is slipping my mind. I'll circle back to her. So I'll go with the guy next to her, Scott. I think he's the trader. I don't really remember him, to be honest. I remember recruiting him at Brass Castle. You had to give him something. I can't remember what you had to give him, but you had to give him something, and then he'd join you. I don't really do any trading in Suikoden. Like, unless I absolutely have to recruit someone, I don't do trading in the game. I'm never really short on money. I don't see the point. He does his job though, and I don't dislike him, so he's going into the C tier. I'm going to put a couple up in the S tier now. So the S tier, I know you generally should be saving S tier for like the absolute top characters that you love beyond anything else, but there are so many characters like that in the Suikoden series for me, and 2 of them I'm going to rank now because I feel like they're a package deal, and I'm talking about Haluk and Mua. I think Haluk is an absolute beast in combat, and the guy has a heart of gold. I'm going to put him in the S tier, and I'm going to put Mua in the S tier. Haluk, he never lies, and he always throws himself into conflicts to protect the weak. You know, how can you not love him? He is by far the best. Is it the Tensatsu star? Is that a star? The Tensatsu star? I hope we see Haluk again in the future, or if not Haluk, I hope we see his village or his people in the future, because if they're half as interesting or fun as Haluk is, I think they'd be wonderful to see. And Mua, like I said, also in the S tier. Mua's awesome. They're a really fun duo. I think Mua is, of all the knights we see throughout the series, I think Mua is the perfect knight. He pretty much represents and embodies the noblest beliefs of a knight, and he goes into the S tier for that. And since we're talking about knights, we gotta rank Fred, right? I'm gonna put Fred into the A tier. He's a fantastic character, he's really well written, and he's got the makings of a great knight. I loved what he done towards the end of the game in the Sindar ruins, where, you know, he recklessly charged into a large group of monsters by himself just to get back Riko's medallion because she cherished it so much. The only thing kind of holding him back from S tier, I think he needs to grow a little more. He needs a bit more character development, a bit more character growth, a bit more maturity, and if we see him return in a future game, and I hope we do see him return in a future game, I think he would definitely end up in the S tier. And since we rank Fred, we've got to rank Riko. Yeah, she's Fred's attendant. What is there to say, really? She's alright. She's not really particularly useful, but she is a nice character and she plays her role well, so I'm going to put her into the B tier. We're getting near the end here. There's not that many characters left. And let's go Geddoe's squad, because I feel like I can get a lot of characters out of the way there if I start ranking his team. When I first played Suikoden 3, you know what? First of all, I'm just going to put him in the S tier. Everyone knows he's going in the S tier. So, you know, as I was saying, when I first played Suikoden 3, Geddoe was by far my least favorite of the three protagonists. But with each playthrough and the older I get, the more I love his character and his story. You know, if you were to ask me 20 or so years ago when I first played Suikoden 3, where would I rank Geddoe on the list? I think I would have put him in the D tier. But these days, I view him as a rock-solid S-tier character. I think what initially put me off him when I was younger was, I suppose, his very cold and closed-off personality. I completely misunderstood his character, and I thought he was supposed to be this, like, cool, mysterious character, but I was too young to understand his character and his story. But now that I'm older, I fully understand his character, I fully understand his reasons, and I completely appreciate his story. So he is a rock-solid S-tier character. And as for his squad, Ace, Queen, Jax, Joker, I'm going to put all of them into the A tier. So Queen, Ace, Jax, Joker, all of you go into the A tier. I love their dynamic as a squad. They have their serious moments, but they also have their funny moments with banter. You know, not to mention, they're all fiercely loyal to Geddoe. Even when Geddoe was being secretive towards them and always kept them in the dark, they stayed loyal to him, so they're definitely A-tier characters. And why not rank the rival squad? Duke, is it Duke, Elaine, Gao, and another one that's slipping my mind. I want to say Nicholas, but I'm not 100% sure on that. They've got this annoying one-sided rivalry going with Geddoe's squad. They're a never-ending pain in his ass, but they do smarten up, and eventually they do give Geddoe's squad a helping hand, and they are decent characters, so despite them being a pain in the ass, I'm going to put them in the B tier. I think B tier is fair for them. So into the B tier you go, and Shizu. No, not Shizu. Not Shizu. Shizu. That's her name. Shizu. The elevator girl. Shizu. C tier. Whatever. Made such a big fuss over her name, and then I don't even really care. Not just typical. We got, what, 8 left? May as well rank Nash. Look, we all know he's going up near the top. He's not going into the S tier, he's going into the A tier. First of all, there's a reason he's going in the A tier instead of the S tier. I do think he's a fantastic character. I think his story and his character development across Suikoden Volume 1 and 2 is a lot of fun. And again, you really should check those games out. If you don't want to play a visual novel, you know, at least go watch them. They are great games. The only thing I dislike about him, and the only thing holding him back from being in the S tier, is his overly flirty nature with the girls. I actually find it really annoying at times. You know, there's nothing wrong with a bit of flirting, but he overdoes it, and I find it really annoying because even when the person he's kind of jokingly flirting with isn't receptive to his flirting, he still keeps flirting with them, but he tries to mask it as jokes and banter to ease the mood, and that really gets on my nerves. And I don't know, it just irks me. And that's the only thing holding him in the S tier instead of putting him into the... Or that's the only thing holding him in the A tier instead of putting him into the S tier. Next we'll go with... Actually, you know what? I think out of the remaining 7 characters, I think I only have one controversial pick left. And I'm going to save that controversial pick for last. So now I'm going to rank Lily, and she's going straight into the S tier. How can you not love her? She's fantastic in combat, her dialogue is funny, and I think her backstory with Chris is hilarious. If you don't know what the backstory is, if I recall it correctly, her and Chris met at the ball, And Lily was insisting, with her, her typical bossy nature, Lily insisted that Chris dance with her, but Chris rejected her because Chris wasn't really into the typical girly stuff like dancing. And then she accidentally spilled her glass of wine on Lily. Then Lily either she threw a cake or she threw a slice of cake at Chris. Then Chris slapped her. Then the two got into a fight and started hurling tables at one another. I think their backstory is hilarious. And they ended up becoming good friends after that. So I think Lily is great. Plus, I dig the whole bossy vibe she's got going on. She is an S tier character for sure. And along with Lily, we gotta rank Reed and Samus. Reed and Samus, Lily's attendants. They've got it rough. She's so strict and demanding with them. And, they never really get a moment's rest around her. I'm going to put them both into the A tier. You gotta feel bad for them because she really piles the pressures of her failures on them, and then she tries to make things right. You really do have to feel bad for them. And not exactly a returning character, but she's the she's the daughter of Ronnie Bell and Muse from Suikoden 1. I'm putting her in the A tier because she is almost exactly like her mother. If you're a fan of Ronnie Bell, you'll be a fan of Emily. I put her in the A tier because I believe the A tier is around where I put her mother, and I do like her character and she's great in combat. So 3 left. I'm going to rank Dios. Dios is another character that I never really cared for him initially, but he did grow on me over the years. I believe his story is that because of his lack of social skills, he always got passed over for promotions and he always got given these thankless secondary support roles. But then he was one of the ones sent into the High East Rebellion along with the Harmonian forces, and Sakurai took notice of him during that war, and Sakurai offered him a job, and he's been loyal to Sakurai ever since, so I'm going to put him into the B tier. We've only got 2 characters left, and I can tell you right now, Sakurai is not the controversial pick. I really like Sakurai as a character. I think I put him in the D tier in the Suikoden 2 character ranking video, but in this video for Suikoden 3, I'm going to put him up into the A tier. I think he had some really great moments in Suikoden 3, and we really got to see him shine as a character. Luke revealing to him that they're actually clones grown to bear the true runes. I think that's going to lead to a great story for Sakurai down the line, because by the end of Suikoden 3, that left Sakurai suffering from an existential crisis. And it's a shame that when we finally got to use him in the game, there's not much use for him because it's time for the final battle, and let's be honest, the true Earth Rune is largely useless for that fight except for its protection spells. The reason I've gone A tier instead of S tier is because I want to see how Sakurai's story plays out following his existential crisis, and that'll determine whether he goes up or down in the rankings. And now we are ending it with the controversial pick. Well, maybe a controversial pick, I don't know, but it might be controversial to some of you, but I think Caesar is arguably, I say arguably because he's kind of there with Eleanor as the worst tactician in the main series, the worst strategist in the series. His most memorable moment was in Chisha Village when he burned something. I don't even remember what it was, but he burned something to scare away the Mantors because they hated the smell of it. The fact that I can't even recall his most memorable moment. I think that speaks volumes about how unmemorable he is as a character. I'm going to put him in the D tier. Pretty much all of his plans, at least that I remember, involve him saying, "We don't need a plan for this battle. Send our troops out and fight." Like, gee, thanks Caesar, I never would have thought of that. I suppose, to be fair to him, he supposedly has a natural talent for strategy and he does have his moments of brilliance, but he lacks the interest and enthusiasm. You know, maybe in a future entry, once he matures and if he pursues that interest in strategy, he'll definitely rise up the ranks, but right now, he's in the D tier. And that's it for this character ranking video. How would you guys rank the characters? Are there any placements on my list that you agree with or disagree with? I'm sure there are. You know, I'm sure there's plenty you agree with and disagree with. Let me know in the comments below. I'll do a Suikoden 4 and 5 character ranking video eventually, and at some point I might even do ranking videos for Suikoden Tactics and Tierkreis. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching guys, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next video.